Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used a really interesting team featuring Eternatus, as well as some really fun techs like Togedemaru with Steel Roller and Helping Hand, and a really interesting Grimmsnarl set with Thunder Wave, Superpower, Lash Out, and Protect. So we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Once again, details are in the description below, including a rental and a paste, so feel free to try out the team yourselves. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by the Ridge. The Ridge, as you may have seen, makes some really awesome lifestyle products, and their most popular one is the Ridge Wallet, which you can see right here. It's a super simple, minimalistic wallet. It's able to fit up to 12 cards between these two metallic plates, and there's also a band or strap for cash here in the back. Super easy to use. You slide out your cards using this little indent here, pull out whatever you need, and slide back as such. As you may have seen, I've been using this wallet for over a year and a half now, and it is still my go-to wallet. I absolutely love it. But if you don't believe me, there are over 40,000 5-star reviews for the Ridge wallet alone. By the way, there's free shipping and free returns within 45 days on these wallets, so you can always get one, try it out. If you decide you don't like it, you can send it back to them and get your money back. I'm currently on their website at ridge.com/VGC. By the way, use code VGC for 10% off your next order. You can see all the different kind of products that they have. This is my personal favorite wallet. It's the carbon fiber one, but as you can see, it comes in all kinds of different materials and colors, including titanium and aluminum as well. And every time I talk about the Ridge, I also talk about their line of backpacks. I personally love all of their bags and use them personally to commute to work. So I've linked my favorite products from the Ridge down in the description below. Thank you so much once again to them for sponsoring the channel and the video. And yeah, if you have any questions about Ridge products, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, because I do absolutely love them, and as I always say, wouldn't accept the sponsorship from a company that I didn't fully believe in. So yeah, let's get started. Getting into our first game of the day, and I think this is the first Ho-Oh that we've fought against on Road to Ranked for Series 9. So that's or Series 10, excuse me. So that's really neat to see. This is a really bulky team that relies very heavily on healing. You've got Regenerator on Ho-Oh and Amoonguss. Gastrodon has Recover, and Umbreon can Moonlight as well. So the amount of recovery is really scary. That is not going to make this matchup easy for us. Ideally, we just snipe things with the Eternatus and like one-shot things. Now, they don't have great poison resist for the most part, other than really the Gastrodon. So we can maybe take advantage of that. I think in this game, I kind of want to just go Togedemaru plus Eternatus, Rillabom plus Urshifu. If we can eliminate the Gastrodon, then Urshifu obviously has a much easier time facing against the Ho-Oh. And I don't feel great about Grimmsnarl or Volcarona here. So let's lock it in and see how it goes. But this is a really cool team for my opponent. And like I said, we haven't really fought against Ho-Oh. I haven't really seen Ho-Oh at all in Series 10 so far. But as I've mentioned in my preview video and as I've played through Series 10, like I've said, I really do think every Legendary and Restricted is somewhat viable, right? Some more so than others. But yeah, Ho-Oh is one that I definitely plan on trying out. I want to try out all of them at some point. So yeah. But let's get into it. Thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. And no official question of the day, but I want to know if you've tried out any of the teams that we feature on Road to Rank so far, and if so, what do you think about them? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so it's going to be Amoonguss plus the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh here is probably going to look to just Sacred Fire us. What I really want to make is honestly to just fake out Amoonguss and Sludge Wave. This gets chip damage onto Amoonguss, puts it in potential KO range from Flamethrower the subsequent turn. I think the main thing I'm nervous about here is Sacred Fire Burn. If you get the burn, if you Sacred Fire my Togedemaru and get the burn, that puts us in a really bad spot, I'd say. I think Amoonguss protecting here is fairly likely. I like the idea of clicking Fake Out onto it just to deny it a Spore. Because if we get, like, let's say I try to read too heavily into turn 1 and go, like, Fake Out plus Dynamax Cannon into Ho-Oh, and then Amoonguss Spores, that's really bad. Ho-Oh protects, which is already a good start. It's just a double protect. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm okay with that, because I can Helping Hand Flamethrower Amoonguss. I don't feel like that many Amoongusses are Focus Sash these days. So that's probably the play I'm going to go for. Yeah. It's just, my opponent definitely has Gastrodon in the back, right? So then I could bring in Urshifu, bait out Gastrodon, and then protect Urshifu as I Dynamax Cannon the presumed Gastrodon switch in. I guess the problem is that by bringing both Urshifu and Rillabom, I'm relatively Ho-Oh weak. So that's like one of the upsides of Ho-Oh in the format, right? You do really well into some of the restricted Pokemon. Or sorry, non-restricted Pokemon. But they're actually going to withdraw Ho-Oh out first into Gastrodon. So if it's not Focus Sash Amoonguss, maybe we can pick up the KO with this move. Let's see. Okay, it's not going to be Aqua Berry. That's good at least. Life Orb, Helping Hand. Beautiful. Beautiful. This is exactly what the game plan was, because even if I deal like 75% of damage to any Pokemon on my opponent's team, they could pretty easily just heal it back through Recover, Regenerator. So getting a knockout this early on is really, really good for us, as they bring in Incineroar as well. Okay, pretty interesting that they actually decided to bring in Incineroar first over the Ho-Oh, but I'll honestly gladly take that. So now our focus really should be on eliminating Gastrodon, right? Here, I like switching Togedemaru out into Rillaboom and just going for a Protect here. Now, this is a fairly obvious play for me to make, but we do have the numbers advantage early. Once I bring out Rillaboom, my opponent's going to feel pressure to switch out with that Gastrodon, meaning I can obviously read out the switch and then, say, just fake out Dynamax Cannon. Fake out Incineroar, Dynamax Cannon, the Ho-Oh slot. So, I'm just being a little bit proactive here. There's not much reason to stay in with Togedemaru, obviously. We don't have something that can allow us to pivot out. And Rillaboom puts on immense pressure against Gastrodon right now. I was going to say Gastrodon because of the grassy terrain. Okay, they don't switch. That's good. Yeah, the fact we got that early knockout is really, really nice. Perfect. Just Snarl coming out. That's fine. Yeah, the main thing we want to do is make sure that our opponent... Like, Ho-Oh is still very scary because it can, like, knock out almost everything on my team. So they're just going to go for Snarl Earth Power. That's completely fine by me. Now, this next turn is interesting because you would think Gastrodon's going to switch out in this position. Maybe it protects. I think I'm pretty content to just click Fake Out here into the Incineroar slot and then just go for a Dynamax Cannon onto the Gastrodon slot. Because I'm thinking, like, Dynamax Cannon... Oh, it's actually Incin that switches out. That's pretty interesting. Nicely done. Okay. That's a really good play on their end. Did they protect Gastrodon here? They do. Okay. That makes sense. So then the play that's likely to happen this next turn is the Gastrodon pivoting out, right, into... Gastrodon pivoting back out into Incineroar. And then Ho-Oh can just go for a Brave Bird or a Sacred Fire onto the Rillaboom slot. So Togedemaru is not really that important for me right now, so I'm down to just switch into Togedemaru. The thing is, I could actually just go for Grassy Glide here, and the logic is that, like, there is a small chance my opponent stays in with Gastrodon and actually doubles up onto Eternatus. Let's say that happens, then Togedemaru comes out, and then I can just bring out Rillaboom or Urshifu. Yeah, I mean, if I were my opponent, I'd probably just make the switch, but it's just so obvious that I could see them staying in. Okay, I'm going to switch and go for the Sludge Wave here. And ideally, Gastrodon switches out if they stay in. It's a very good call on their end, and kudos to them. And honestly, if there's any time to make a good prediction, I think it is this turn by staying in. But they switch out. Okay, perfect. I mean, I feel like every turn has gone as well as possible so far, but the scary thing here is, once again, Ho-Oh is just still a really big threat to us, right? So even though it's been great so far, that was a really important turn to get right, though, so I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, we get Sludge Wave off. Nice damage there, not bad. They're going to go for Sacred Fire, totally fine. Even if Togedemaru faints here, I just get the free switch and back out into Rillaboom, which is pretty nice. So let's see if they get the burn with Sacred Fire. No burn. Okay, sweet. Okay, that's very, very good for us then. And the upside is, yeah, we just outspeed Ho-Oh outright, so I don't have to worry about, you know, Ho-Oh Dynamaxing and Max Airstreaming or something like that. So here I'm fairly content to just click Fake Out into the Incineroar. Ho-Oh did reveal Protect in the beginning of the game, so it's probably Protect, Sacred Fire, Brave Bird, and then Recover. I don't think Dynamax Cannon is KOing anyway, so I don't mind just chipping away more. And I'll just go for Fake Out plus Sludge Wave. As long as we deny them a Fake Out, then I can just Dynamax Cannon to KO Ho-Oh the subsequent turn. If Ho-Oh goes for a recovery attack this turn, that's totally fine. I still get chip damage onto Incineroar, and we're slowly whittling away at that. So I think the upside for us is that Eternatus here is just faster than the Ho-Oh, and my opponent hasn't been able to really put out large amounts of damage, and the Helping Hand tech on the Togedemaru was very handy for us on turn 1, so super, super happy about that. Okay, So they're not going to make any switches here. Interestingly enough, actually, Incineroar didn't try to go for Fake Out, so probably just like a Snarl or a Parting Shot immediately. Ooh, that's a crit on Ho-Oh. That's a really lucky crit. Because it means they actually faint from recoil now if they target Eternatus. But yeah, they did go for Recover. That's fine though, right? Because now I could potentially just go for a Helping Hand plus Dynamax Cannon. I don't know if that's going to KO though. So I don't know if I want to do that. Okay, everyone heals back a little bit from grassy terrain. I think I'd rather just Helping Hand Dynamax Cannon Incineroar here. Just get the knockout onto that. Because it's not gonna, it's very likely not gonna have, you know, like Protect. Like the way I want to set up this match. Oh, actually, you know, the one thing I didn't consider is that my Urshifu is really slow. So Brave Bird might just knock it out. Okay, perfect. Ho-Oh protects. That actually should win us the game. Because now I can just Nuzzle into the Ho-Oh slot. And with Nuzzle, that ensures that I'll outspeed. So I feel like every turn of this game has basically gone perfectly. But I think the scary thing here is, yeah, if I like misread any of the turns, Ho-Oh could have a really big advantage. The main turn I'm thinking about was the turn I read Gastrodon switching back out into Incineroar. If Gastrodon just stayed in there and attacked, we might actually have been in really bad shape. The other interesting thing here is that they never targeted the Eternatus, so Eternatus has actually been very, very safe throughout the course of the match, which is awesome. Okay, so we have the numbers advantage now, and the Ho-Oh protected last turn. I do wonder if a Helping Hand plus... Like, I think I'd rather just play it safe here and Nuzzle the Ho-Oh, and Dynamax Cannon the... Yeah, I'm down to Nuzzle and Dynamax Cannon Ho-Oh here. It might just actually be enough to KO it. They do go for the double, which is actually, I think, their best case option, but fortunately for us, they don't get it. So Eternatus was a beast in this game, as well as the Togedemaru. See if that's enough to KO. Cool, so Helping Hand plus Dynamax Cannon actually would have just been enough. Yeah, I mean, even if they got the double there, Ho actually survives the Nuzzle impressively enough. Yeah, I'm just curious how much Earth Power does into Eternatus here. I would think we survive. Oh yeah, not even close. Okay, nice. So it's like, even if Ho got the double off, I probably just would have gone for Helping Hand plus Dynamax Cannon. Although I guess, like, I wouldn't have known the maximum damage output from that attack. So yeah, but either way, we can just go for Helping Hand here, Sludge Wave. Actually, is there any reason to do that? Why don't we just, Nuzzle can't miss, yeah. You can just Nuzzle Hole here, that'll KO, and then Dynamax Cannon the Gastrodon. At this point, Urshifu will be able to just close Combat Hole, and then Rillabom wins against Gastrodon, so we have a guaranteed win at this point in the game, as long as we, yeah, don't misclick or timeout or anything like that. Okay. That is so much damage, wow. This thing really hurts with that Life Orb. Like, with Helping Hand, we actually one-shot both Gastrodon and Amoonguss. That's really impressive. Nice. Yeah, I think the main thing about going up against this team is you have to make sure you get the like proper amount of damage off, right? Either put themselves in a position where they can't attack because they're forced to go for recovery or switching out for regenerator, or just try to one-shot them. So being able to one-shot that Amoonguss turn 1 was such a big deal. And honestly, it may have been a damage roll. Like, if you have a lot of special defense investment, I think you could actually, you know, survive that. So I'm not entirely sure. I didn't feel super safe about that play. But yeah, the main thing is I didn't feel super pressured by Ho-Oh with Eternatus, because Eternatus is pretty bulky as well. So yeah. Anyway, now you can just Helping Hand, Glide, and that will be GG. But really cool team. I can imagine like games with my opponent's team can drag on for a long time, but they can like kind of just out pressure and outstall your opponent by staying on the field for forever. And so that was like the #1 thing I wanted to deny potentially in this matchup. So definitely a fun way to start off this one. And yeah, the main thing that was really scary. We can check their team, actually. I'm really curious. So is Mentor Amoonguss more defensive than specially defensive in terms of in terms of nature. Rage Powder, Clear Smog Spore. Rindo Berry on the Gastrodon. Earth Power, Ice Beam, Recover, Protect. Yep, it's pretty standard there. Modest. Safety Goggles on Ho-Oh makes sense. Yep, there's the Recover. Sacred Fire and Brave Bird. Not max speed, it's Adamant. AV Incineroar, pretty standard stuff there. Whimsicott with Focus Sash, Protect, Dazzle, Tail, and Sunny Day. I really like Sunny Day because that synergizes quite nicely with Ho-Oh, obviously. And then Leftovers Umbreon, and then that also synergizes with Umbreon. I think the main thing, if you look at my opponent's team, is that there's not much damage in general, and certainly not fast damage. It's only primarily going to come from Ho-Oh. The rest of the Pokemon can do a fair amount. for super effective hits, but otherwise, like, you're kind of struggling in terms of damage output. That was one of the things we were able to leverage in that matchup, right? The fact that my opponent never really, like, could pressure me with the one-hit knockout on a given turn. I'd say the only really scary turn in that game was the one in which, like, Gastrodon had the potential to stay in, could have gotten doubled up on into Eternatus. That could have been really bad, but fortunate for us, that did not happen. So let's just look for our next one. Second game of the day, we're up against rank number 4. Very cool, very cool. Okay, and they've definitely got some interesting things here with the Mimikyu as well as the Calyrex-S. So Grimmsnarl's really good because of T-Wave and the not Darkest Lariat. What is it again? Lash Out, yeah. Moltres is pretty scary. It's very scary actually. I mean, Vulcan Quiver Dance here, but I always just like feel weird bringing Volcarona when my opponent has a Urshifu on their team because it's like Surging Strikes just kind of crushes it. So I don't love that. I'm thinking Grim plus Eternatus, Rillabom plus Urshifu. Now the main thing I'm actually worried about in this matchup is Galarian-Moltres because we don't have great super effective damage into it, right? Like Togedemaru is the only Pokemon on our team that can actually hit it for super effective. It's pretty good into Urshifu and Rillaboom as well. I just realized I feel like AV Galarian-Moltres could be pretty interesting in this format. But Galarian-Moltres in general I feel like is probably a little bit underplayed right now. It does so well into Calyrex, Incin, Urshifu. But they're going to go Incin plus the Calyrex. Okay, that's fine by me. I don't have Fake Out here. I do have Thunder Wave. I mean, if I'm my opponent, what am I doing? Fake Out into Grim turn 1 and then sub maybe? Do you want to just go for Lash Out here? I mean, Eternatus is pretty good into the rest of my opponent's team, so I'm not sure I want to take like burst damage right now. I could just protect Eternatus turn 1, but my slight fear here is that they go Fake Out sub turn 1. Best case is they Fake Out Eternatus and then just try to attack, but I feel like that's probably unlikely. Okay, there's Fake Out. That's already a good start. And they do go for sub. Okay, not bad. I'm actually very happy about how that turn played out, because I take no damage and I break your sub. And now I can just go T-Wave Dynamax Cannon into Calyrex. Maybe they protect Calyrex and then switch Incineroar out. Actually, I feel like that's pretty likely. Like protect Calyrex and then Parting Shot with Incineroar. And then you could pivot in a Fake Out user. So the question is whether or not I want to read that, because you also probably aren't expecting T-Wave. So you're like, maybe I can just burst your Eternatus for damage before I faint. If I were my opponent, I'd probably protect Calyrex here. But the thing is, I don't want to overextend and make a read. That's slightly unnecessary. Because one thing we could do here is actually just superpower this thing and Dynamax Cannon. I think I'm down for that. They actually hard switch. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Oh my goodness. Now they did protect Calyrex, but I mean, there wasn't really a great way around that, but it feels so bad to use 2 attacks and whiff both of them. That was a brilliant hard switch, actually. I feel like a lot of players would be tempted to Parting Shot there, but really nicely done. Okay. Now, the thing is, what do you do now? My opponent's in a really interesting position where it's like, I haven't revealed... I would switch Cali back out into Incineroar, quite frankly. They could even Trick Room. But Mimikyu only scares me if it has Swords Dance, right? I don't love this play because I think Calyrex switches out into Incineroar. Yeah. This is too obvious of a play. I needed to read into that. If I were to read into that, what was my best play though? Flamethrower and Lash Out into Mimikyu? It's not even like that's super strong. Okay. They've done a great job with their switches this game, so kudos to them, seriously. Yeah, the problem here is if you have Swords Dance with Mimikyu, things can get dicey very, very quickly. That is so much damage onto Incineroar. Oh my goodness. Alright, they just go for Play Rough. I'll take that. That one-shots though. Wow. I have to say, I was not expecting that to get a one-hit KO. Okay. That's because you're Life Orb. That would make sense. I should have launched T-Wave onto Mimikyu because the problem right now is that my Urshifu is still slower than this thing. That's really bad, actually. Okay, I'm gonna bring out Rillaboom then. The idea here is with Rillaboom, I can fake out the Incineroar. Yeah, I like both of the switches my opponents made this game were really good, and it was like fairly predictable as well, but I just didn't want to get overly aggressive and read into them, but it's going to punish me a fair amount. So fake out Incin here, and then Flamethrower into the Mimikyu to break the disguise. The hard switch on Incineroar was a really good play. Had they stayed in there, there was actually a pretty good shot we would have just KO'd the Incineroar with the Dynamax Cannon and Superpower double up. So, okay, they're actually going to switch the Mimikyu out now into Urshifu. I actually don't mind that too much. Okay. I mean, it's just free damage for us right now, right? Okay, so that's good. Now I can just Grassy Glide that slot. Dynamax Cannon. Okay, I probably don't want to Dynamax Cannon the I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, I did it last time and it didn't pay off. I could go for Sludge Wave, but I really don't like the idea of Sludge Waving myself. That's Leftovers Incineroar. That's so interesting. Can't remember the last time I've seen Leftovers on Incineroar. The other thing here is like Glide onto the Urshifu is so obvious. I think I'm just going to Glide the Incineroar and Dynamax Cannon it. I really want to Flamethrower this thing. I mean, my opponent's been playing so safe this whole game. And we don't really risk taking too much damage from this thing anyway. I guess unless they're Choice Banded. Alright, I'm gonna Glide and Flamethrower. Because that would heavily punish a Mimikyu switch in. Okay, finally get one of the switches. They've been playing the same style this whole game, so I was like, finally, feels like time to maybe read into it. Okay, perfect, yeah. Like, I need to punish these switches a little bit harder. It's been a little bit frustrating up until now. But now we're actually in very good shape, I would say, relative to how the last couple of turns looked. Like, we're not going to knock out Mimikyu, but that's fine, right? Because now I put on pressure with Glide. Sludge Wave is actually such an interesting offensive option right now. It's just I don't feel great about it because I can't protect, obviously, with it. Okay, awesome damage there. And this is perfect now because now I can just Dynamax Cannon on the Urshifu slot with very high confidence, right? They protected and they don't have a Mimikyu / any free switch in at this point. So I'm just going to go for Glide here onto Mimikyu. I think Mimikyu actually switching back out into Incineroar feels fairly likely, but the key thing here is I have a free Dynamax Cannon onto Urshifu. There's nothing to stop that right now. And we outspeed. So, yeah, they switch Urshifu out, probably into Incin. Perfect. I mean, the thing is, if your Mimikyu is just... What is Mimikyu doing here, right? Like, it's not... Unless it's bulky enough to survive Grassy Glide with the Intimidate, that'd be really bad. Let's see. Okay, good. That's a double KO. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And the game isn't won yet, but this obviously puts us in a pretty good position. Yeah, the main thing is I feel like my opponent was making me look silly with all their switches, so at some point I had to make a call. And the turn where we went for Flamethrower and Grassy Glide, I was like, there's actually a chance we just knock out the Incineroar here outright. But even if we don't, it'd be very, like, they've just been playing the same way this entire game. Which sometimes you can, use to your advantage if you're from my opponent's perspective, right? Where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to make the call and finally attack. So they bring the Urshifu back out as well as Calyrex. We've seen Substitute on Calyrex. Now the main thing here is I'm intimidated. I want to double check how many turns of terrain we have left. I don't know if Calyrex one-shots us with the Psychic type attack. There's still 2 turns of terrain left. And I've got my Urshifu in the back. So given that we have Urshifu in the back, I like the idea of just going for knockoff here onto Calyrex and then Dynamax Cannon onto... Oh, actually, if I U-turn and protect, then I regain regain control of the terrain, but there's a good chance they close combat this thing. And Astral Barrage. If we just pick up 1 KO here, we should win the game. So I'm going to knock off and Dynamax Cannon, I think. Okay, they just go for Psyshock. That's fine. How much does that do? Oh, it doesn't even one-shot us. This Eternatus is amazing. Let's go. Nice. Alright, so Dynamax Cannon comes out. And that is going to pick up the KO onto Urshifu. Brilliant. Oh, Eternatus. Well done, well done, well done. I mean, even if we didn't survive that, close combat from Urshifu shouldn't KO us, and then you drop your defense. Curious if knockoff with the Intimidate KOs Calyrex. It should, right? Yeah. So then, even if they picked up the KO onto Eternatus, you'd either Surging Strikes or close combat Rillabom. If you close combat, even better for us, right? Because then you have a defense drop, and then I bring in my Urshifu, and it's a 2v1. And the thing is, we had one more turn of grassy terrain there, right? And with my Eternatus being KO'd and my Urshifu switching in, you can protect the grassy glide, but then that means my Urshifu gets a close combat off. So there's no way my opponent was winning that 2v1 with Urshifu. What they needed was the KO with Psyshock onto Eternatus and close combat critical hit onto my Rillabom. And yeah, I just wanted to cover for every single option there. Like, if they substitute Protect, for example, I break this up with Knockoff, Draco Meteor KOs Urshifu. If they double up onto Rillaboom with either Psyshock or Astral Barrage in close combat, Dynamax Cannon knocks out the Urshifu, and then it's a 2v1. I guess the scary thing about the 2v... No, we should always win into 2v1, right? Unless... basically, we need to avoid, 1 or 2 critical hits in any endgame scenario. But the main thing there was I didn't want to throw the game away by, for example, had I just protected Eternatus and then my opponent actually doubled up onto Rillaboom and pick up a KO onto that, that's really bad, because we just lose a Pokemon and don't trade anything, right? And we had the numbers advantage in that one. So that was a really, really fun one. So let's look for another. Third one of the day. If we win this one, we'd actually break the top 100 with Eternatus, which would be really cool. So... I feel like because I said that, I just jinxed myself, but it's going to be another Calyrex Shadow Rider team here. Okay, I mean, the approach last game worked out pretty well. The problem here is they have Indeedee, and they have Entei. This feels a lot harder than the last one, I think, because of those. The Indeedee alone is a really big issue, but I think I want to just go with the same 4. Now, the interesting about Togedemaru is that it can actually get rid of the terrain with Steel Roller. That's actually very interesting. But it would mean having to drop, I guess, I feel like I need Grim just offensively in this one. I guess I could think about dropping Urshifu, but because it's bulky, Urshifu can actually take Calyrex's attacks pretty well as well. So, I think I'm down for just Grimmsnarl, Eternatus, Rillaboom, Urshifu. But I think this one is going to be a lot harder than the last one. That last one was already pretty tricky, but this one's even harder, I think, because of the Indeedee. The Indeedee just stops our priority Thunder Waves from the Grimmsnarl. So it would be an argument to make for bringing the, what am I trying to say? Bringing the Togedemaru, but I don't love Togedemaru, especially if Indeedee comes out. You can just redirect with Follow Me. Calyrex Mienshao, okay. I mean, this is okay, but turn 1's really dicey. Because I think this is a pretty tough matchup, right? And as a result, I'm going to play very aggressively, I think. Normally I'd want to protect Eternatus in this position, but we just saw that, the Eternatus can survive a Psyshock. So what I'm willing to do is actually just Lash Out and go for Dynamax Cannon turn 1. What I really don't want is for my opponent to get a substitute up on turn 1. So they're going to go for Fake Out. That's fine. It's a lot of damage. And they just go for Astral Barrage. Okay, that's actually not a bad trade-off at all, because we'll definitely survive this, and Dynamax Cannon might just KO them. Yeah, that's not bad. Would love to pick up a knockout here. That would be amazing for us, but let's see. Even if we don't, I could potentially... Well, what would I want to do next turn? They'll probably survive, actually. Let's see. Oh, never mind. Calyrex is so frail. We get a crit. That is pretty lucky. My intuition tells me you would survive with maybe 10%-ish or so, but I'm honestly not sure. I do need to do the damage calc on that, and a lot of it is contingent off whether or not you actually have bulk. But that's obviously a very fortunate turn for us and puts us in really good shape, because now what I can do is We have a lot of options. I think the play I like the most is actually to protect the Grimmsnarl and Sludge Wave. Ah, your Psychic Seed on Indeedee. Okay. Protect Sludge Wave gives me the free switching into Rillabom, which gives me terrain control. Let's think this turn through. We obviously had a pretty great turn one. I could obviously protect the Eternatus and then switch Grimmsnarl out into Rillabom. That would give me terrain control, but there's a chance they close combat and expanding force. With Urshifu in the back, I honestly don't mind the protect and Sludge Wave play. Yeah. It just gets so much damage onto the Mienshao, chips away at the Indeedee as well, and then if you knock out the Eternatus, then I just get the free switch into Rillabom, which is great for us as well. I don't know, though. Eternatus is just so strong here that maybe it was worth just switching out. Okay, they're going to be Focus Sash here on the Mienshao. Yep. Thing is, now both of these Pokemon are in Grassy Glide KO range, right? So there's the CC onto Grimm. Expanding Force, yeah, as expected. Okay. So I bring Rillabom out. Well, actually, I guess like it doesn't matter whether or not they have a special defense boost at this point in the game. I was like, oh, the good thing is if I bring Rillabom out, they're going to feel pressure to switch out the Indeedee, but it doesn't actually matter here. Okay. But I'm assuming their last one's Entei, so us conserving Urshifu right now is very, very good. Also, you can imagine if I had just protected Eternatus in turn one. Grimmsnarl takes 50% of damage. Where do I go from there, right? I just, like, take 50% of damage for basically no pressure. What do I want to do here? I think I want to just... there's a chance this Indeedee has Protect, and so they could switch Mienshao out right now into Entei. Okay, I'm down to Lash Out and Grassy Glide the Mienshao this turn. Yep, there's the switch. There's Entei. Indeedee protects, right? Okay, yeah. I don't know, though. I could have U-turned there instead. U-turn might have just won us the game, because then I get Urshifu in. Well, then it's contingent off whether or not like you get a burn or not. But we still should get really good damage off with this double up. Really good damage. Oh my goodness. Lash Out is awesome on this Grimmsnarl. Okay. So now if you're my opponent, you're probably withdrawing Indeedee out into the Mienshao. I'm going to go for Lash Out onto Indeedee and then switch Rillabom out into Urshifu. The problem here is that they might just click Sacred Fire. Also, does Lash Out just knock out Entei? Because if it does, it's better to just stay in and Lash out the Entei slot, or double up onto Indeedee. I'm just nervous about Sacred Fire going onto Grimm here. I would target Rillabom, right? I'm going for Lash Out and switching out into Urshifu, but I'm not sure this is the right play. I also could have protected the Rillabom, or sorry, protected the Grimm this turn. Ideally, they switch out into Mienshao here. Follow Me is fine, actually. But the question is where Sacred Fire is going now. Perfect. Okay, good. That's exactly what I needed. They get the burn, but that's okay. The Lash Out is such a big deal here on Grimmsnarl, honestly. The damage output from this thing is incredible. And Grimmsnarl's base attack is really good, right? So it's nothing to scoff at, but how much of a difference maker is it in this matchup, right? If we don't have a single dark type attack on Grimmsnarl or any offense from it, this plays out completely differently. Okay, so now I can just double protect. Your Entei really shouldn't have great recovery, and I have terrain control, which is perfect. Urshifu can obviously just Aqua Jet to finish off Mienshao. So, yeah, I think it's just a double protect here. Okay, protect. Protect. Double protect, and then it's just Aqua Jet into the Mienshao, Thunder Wave into the Entei. Actually, we might not even need to Thunder Wave. It might be better to just Darkest Lair. No. Yeah, I mean, the only reason I don't want to T-Wave is because of the risk of it missing. That's basically it. Okay, yep, they go for Fake Out. Perfect. Whips into Protect. Ooh, I did not think about E-Speed. I don't think you're going to come close to knocking us out with E-Speed, though. Nah, there's no way. Even like something like Helping Hand E-Speed would not pick up the KO. So now we just go for the guaranteed KO onto Mienshao. Because Aqua Jet will go through Mienshao's Protect, thanks to Urshifu's ability. I think we can just Lash Out here. Actually, let me double check the number of turns of terrain. Man, there's still 2. Lash Out should be a 2-hit KO. Yeah, I'm just going to Lash Out. I don't want to risk missing here. And the speed control doesn't really matter given that we have priority. Okay, they actually ended up just forfeiting. Yeah, it makes sense. I think their best bet was, I guess, hoping Urshifu didn't have Protect, Fake Out E-Speed to chip away at it, and then E-Speed again. And as soon as you can't, as soon as I'm not in E-Speed KO range, then yeah, we survive, and we can just get the KO onto Mienshao, forcing it effectively to be a 3v1. So yeah, the Grimmsnarl set here specifically with Lash Out was incredible for us today, and I think that actually allows us to break the top 100. So this Eternatus team, really, really cool. We've been hovering somewhat high up on the ladder, but it's really cool to reach it with Eternatus specifically. So this was a really, really fun team. I had a lot of fun using it, and I think, once again, like, you know, a lot of the teams we featured recently have some really interesting techs, right? For example, the ranked number 1 Zacian team, yeah, it's standard in terms of Pokemon, but has lots of really, really, really cool just sets in general, and EV spread specifically. That was huge for that team. For this Eternatus team, one, the Togedemaru, what a game changer with Helping Hand. The Nuzzle Steel Roller was amazing for us in the last episode. And then in this one, of course, it was just kind of a mix of everything, but especially the Grimmsnarl. That Lash Out, so critical in dealing damage. It was able to knock out Indeedee from 70%, deal around 40% of damage into the Entei, and yeah, basically be a huge offensive threat to the Calyrex Shadow Rider as well. So yeah, I had a blast with this one, and as you can see, like, Eternatus is one of actually the, I would say, better restricted Pokemon in the format, so it's really cool because, you know, this thing was not very good back in Series 8, and a lot more niche. You never really saw it at a high level in tournaments, but Eternatus in this format, I think, is significantly better than it was in Series 8. Part of it is just because of the lack of Dynamax, which is ironic because, you know, you normally, Eternatus, you're thinking, oh yeah, you know, I do so much more damage to Dynamax Pokemon, but the reality is that it still does so much to non-Dynamax Pokemon, right? Especially when you slap a Life Orb onto it, or if you go for the Power Herb set, for example, you get to +1 special attack immediately. So that's going to be it for this one. Details for the team in the description below. Feel free to try it out yourselves. Thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Thanks to the Ridge once again for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.